Welcome to Roadshow Shootout, where usually we take two cars that are competing on the market and tell which one you should buy. Today it's a little different though. Today it's NSX versus NSX as we celebrate the return of a Japanese motoring icon. We're going to be taking the new car and putting it through its paces on the road and on the track. But first, let me introduce you to this beauty. This is a 2005 NSX, one of the last ones imported into the US. It has a 290 horsepower V6 mounted in the middle, clean classic 90s styling, and I love everything about it.
And this is the new guy. It is the swoopier, more aerodynamic, and more aggressive-looking 2017 NSX. It doesn't have one, not two, but it's got 4 motors in it, the biggest being a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine with about 500 horsepower. That's connected to a 9-speed dual-clutch transmission. There's a motor up front that drives each wheels, meaning it's got all-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive in an NSX. I don't know about that, John.
Well, I don't know about it either, but I think we should go for a drive and find out.
Now I know everybody wants to know about the new NSX, but we're starting here in the classic, in the original. And I gotta say, it feels pretty good. Now obviously it's very 1990s in here, but it's also very simple. You know, you turn the key to start, you pick your gear and you go. You don't have to worry about drive modes, you don't have to worry about a battery charge or anything like that. You just drive like a classic car.
That's right. I mean, compared to today's standards, there's not a whole lot going on in here. There's no navigation, there's no satellite radio or anything like that. I mean, we have a Bose tape deck here.
And a CD changer in the trunk.
We have a CD changer, but it does play MP3s
That's
too.
right.
So that's high tech for...
Get your totally legal music collection in the trunk. That's good.
Exactly. Besides all that, like you said, it's just a simple car. 6-speed manual transmission, a 3.2-liter V6 engine, 290 horsepower. Plenty to get into a little bit of trouble on the street.
Plenty of trouble, I think.
I think so.
VTEC kicking in, yo.
The unicorns, farts coming out of the exhaust.
As soon as you slot that into first gear and go,
right,
suddenly any doubt that you have about the quality of this car just goes away.
And the one thing about Honda Acura, they know how to do manual transmissions so well. I mean, it's such a nice, slick, shifting car. And just it being such a simple car, I mean, the steering is so direct, it's nicely weighted, it's communicative, the engine's responsive, and it pulls pretty well through the rev range, I think.
Yeah, 290 horsepower is not a lot, but it just feels like the right amount for this car. It feels like the right amount to have a great time on the track. We've both taken this car on the track and had a lot of fun with it. And man, it's hard not to fall in love with this car and start to go on Craigslist and bring a trailer and start to see if you can find one. Sadly, I think, though, we missed the bottom of the NSX market by a couple of years.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I'm still going to look.
I will, too.
Yes.
I'll dream, anyway. I'll dream. So we're in the new car. This feels like a completely different car. It's hard to really find any parallel between the two, except this has a steering wheel like that one does. It doesn't even have the same logo on the steering wheel.
Things are way different. There's way more stuff going on. It does have a V6 engine, but it's twin turbo now. So it's got 500 horsepower coming out of that. And then it's a hybrid system. So there's 2 electric motors driving the front wheels, meaning it's got all-wheel drive.
Another electric motor in the back.
Right. So net horsepower was 573. And then we don't have a 6-speed manual transmission anymore. We have a 9-speed dual-clutch transmission.
So we've got almost twice the horsepower.
Right.
And we've gained, what, about 700 pounds-ish?
Yeah, this is about 3,800 pounds, a little bit more. It's got power seats in it, so they said like 3,820, roughly. Old car is about 3,200 pounds.
Now we've got a lot of different driving modes here. In the old car, you just get in, you turn the key, and away you go. The new one, we've got this massive dynamic mode dial here in the middle. We're in quiet mode right now because we're just kind of cruising down the road, but as we turn it right, we go into sport mode, which is pretty similar, but now the gasoline motor will kick in more early and give us a little bit more power, but we still got the soft suspension, we still got the soft, lighter steering, but then we can go into Sport Plus mode. Now the engine gets a little bit louder. There are 2 tubes running from the intake into the cabin here, one behind your head and one behind mine, so we've got a little bit more engine noise in the cabin now. And you go all the way to the right, hold it here, and then it'll beep at you, and you go full-on track mode where you get Now it starts to sound all right.
That sounds much better. Like when at idle and quiet mode, it doesn't sound that good. It's like I think I was telling you earlier. It sounds kind of like a cement mixer. It's just really coarse and it's not all that appealing.
And the exhaust, we've got baffles there as well. So as you go into the different modes, then it gets louder on the outside as well. But really, still not very loud on the outside. I mean, we are talking twin turbo V6, so a lot of that beautiful engine noise gets muffled by all that. So even on the track, there's not a lot to hear in this car. But I think we got a lot more testing ahead of us before we can make any sort of conclusion on the road, on the track. We've got to get this guy on the track. I've been on the track a little bit, but I think we might need a little bit of help to really get the most out of this car. What do you think?
I think you're right, and luckily, I got a guy.
You got a guy?
I got a guy.
All right. Mr. Graham Rahal, Honda IndyCar driver, 2 wins last season, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Youngest winner in history, something like that?
Yeah, it's a fantastic year for us last year. Glad to get going for this year.
Well, it's a privilege to have you here, and we're starting off in the older car. This is the 2005 NSX. Probably your dad had a bit of a hand in developing, right?
Yeah, Dad had a little hand in developing this car originally. Obviously, Senna's the most well-known, but yeah, Dad still thinks very highly of this, and you know, this is definitely one of the most iconic cars of its time, and really what changed the look of supercars forever.
Yeah, this was underpowered compared to its competition, but it just has such a great balance and such a great feel, which I'm sure you're experiencing and enjoying at the moment. What are your thoughts on this car, you know, 15 years later?
You know, it never disappoints. The power band is pretty good, I think, you know, but the balance, like when you need to get that front to tuck, man, does it go.
It's only about 290 horsepower. This is the later motor, the 3.2 liter, but it just feels like that's just the right amount for this chassis, the way it's set up.
When I first heard about this car, everybody said to me, but you got to understand, the NSX, it's the best driver's car because everything you ask of it, it does. And I was like, yeah, okay, you know, I've heard this before. But once I actually got to drive it, and even right now, just experiencing it, it's true. I mean, the balance of this car is magnificent. And the gearbox is pretty damn perfect for, you know, for its age.
Yeah, Honda absolutely knows how to make something feel great in terms of handling, in terms of shifting, in terms of everything. And this is, you can say this is the pinnacle. This is pretty damn close. And that this car lasted on the market as long as it did with, as we mentioned, so few changes, pretty testament to how great they got it right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say you know, to that section of track right there, you know, you're working the tire pretty hard, and you know, the car accepts it extremely well. Man, how cool is this thing?
It's pretty great. So, yeah, one how that's cool with me. I'll be timing you manually.
I mean, the car goes absolutely wherever you want it to go. Power band is actually very nice for a car that wasn't really known for horsepower. It was always underpowered, but you can utilize it very, very well. Man, the balance is so good in this car.
It does feel like it understeers, but it feels like a safe way to enter the corner. If you're a little bit too hot and you lift off the gas, it's going to understeer a bit. You just get back on the throttle a little bit, and you can really feel those front motors pulling in. Now, I drive all-wheel drive cars. I have a couple Subarus, and you expect those cars to understeer, but this, it just feels like the torque vectoring and everything else just helps to pull the car right through.
The torque vectoring is impressive with this car, and actually where you will feel it the most is in the rain. First couple times I drove this car was in Ohio, and it was raining. When I'd launch out of the corner, you could really feel the torque vectoring, which was impressive. In normal drive, on track mode, it actually shifts extremely well. It is probably the best system that I have used that I feel like is the most thought out, and when the driver would really want the shift done, or what gear you would want to be in through a corner.
But I see that you're still shifting yourself, though.
I like to shift, right? So, you know, for me, I do it on my own because there's some corners where I might want a little less revs, or there's some corners I'm going to want more revs, because based on that I can get the car to handle in different ways. So again, the nice thing about this car, similar to the old, is you can make this thing do what you want based on how you drive it.
Are there any parallels that you can draw between the feel of this car and the older car? Are there any similarity, any DNA that's shared out here on the track?
Well, I think what you see is it's a car that responds very well to driver feel, to what the driver wants of it. If you want to go, have a ride on the track, you can do it with this thing. I can pitch this car in and get a little oversteer, and that's exactly the way the old car was. It's not so overly refined that you can't have fun. This car does everything you want when you want it, and it's the everyday supercar. I think that this is going to be a car that a lot of people are going to really, really enjoy.
Now we've got the track, the whole track to ourselves. You just got out of the 2005 doing a hot lap. What do you think about maybe doing a little hot lap action and this guy to see how they compare?
Let's do it, absolutely. I think it'd be very interesting to see what the pace difference is. The torque vectoring, the car pulls so well off the corner. Use an extra downshift to make the car turn a little better. Same here. Use the RPM to get the balance a little bit better. Onto the front straight. Finish our lap.
All right, Graham, you just come off the track in the 2017. I've got your lap times here. In the 2005 model, you did a 134.3, which based on what we've seen is a pretty damn good time here.
34.3, all right.
I've got the time for the new car, but before that, I want to pick your brain on a couple of things. We're talking $150,000 to $200,000-ish for this car. That's a pretty nice territory to be in terms of a lot of choices. We got R8, we got Porsche 911 Turbo, even a 570S. Where does this car fit in compared to all those cars? Because I know you've driven a lot of those cars.
I think what you have to look at is the usability of all of them. I think that's where the R8 has kind of stood out. Of course, the turbo, turbo as well. This thing can really become an animal or very tame depending on what you want. The 9-speed gearbox is spectacular. I think you're really getting a great bang for your buck with this product right here.
You're definitely getting a faster car too. I've got your lap time. You ready?
I'm ready.
The old car again did a 134.3. In the new car, a 121.9.
All right, 13 seconds. Yeah, we'll take that. I'm not surprised. You know what? They're both amazing cars. They're so much fun. It's always great to drive the original NSX. My dad was a big part of that car in its day, and so for me to have a small part in this is spectacular. But I think the one characteristic you see in both of them is it puts a smile on your face. No matter what you're doing, you can make this car do what you want. You can make that car do what you want. Obviously, that's got 3 pedals. This one only has 2, but so much fun driving them, and of course, you're going to get the reliability of a good Honda Acura product.
So you don't have a problem not having a manual transmission, not having rear-wheel drive, because a purist will frown upon an all-wheel drive system and a dual-clutch transmission.
They do, but then there's also a lot of people who want to come out to a track, they want to go have some fun, and they don't want it to bite them, they don't want it to be too difficult, they want to come out and enjoy themselves. And I think that's what this car is extremely good at. Out on the track playing around, I can still get 4-wheel drifts in this thing without any problem, similar to what you can with this. I think this is the technology of its day. We all the purists like the manual transmission, but the manual transmission really can't compete with what the dual clutch can do nowadays. So, you got to take it for what it's worth. And, for me, depending on where you live, I spend a lot of time in Southern California. Using a clutch pedal in LA traffic is not something I want to be doing. So you'll probably find me in this much more often.
All right, Graham. Thanks for taking the time out of testing for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Now, at the end of every shootout, we've got to pick a winner, and I got to say, the choice isn't as one-sided here as I thought it would be. I definitely appreciate that car. The new NSX is really impressive on a lot of levels. On the track, on the road, it's really great, really comfortable. You can definitely drive that car every day. But for pure driving pleasure, My heart's still with the old guy.
And I have to agree with you that, like you said, I agree that car, for every day, for what Acura had to do to build a modern-day NSX, it's exactly what it should be. When this car originally came out, it was like, just so different from anything else out there, and you can say the same thing about the new NSX.
Yeah, this is really an engineering powerhouse. It's like they've put so much attention to detail into every aspect of the car, but yet I still find myself wanting to take this out for another lap.
I have to agree, and it's always been one of my favorite cars, too, just growing up and being a Honda Acura fan. And yeah, there's just something so alluring to it that it's undeniable, and I'd end up with this.
So the new NSX is an amazing feat of engineering, and for a day-to-day basis, it'd almost certainly be the better one to live with, but our hearts and minds are still drawn to this.